Yeah, good morning, friends, and good morning, loved ones. How are you doing? It's been a while, and I want to welcome you again to this beautiful channel, Your Marriage. And this morning, we're going to be doing something together, very interesting and very wonderful topic: the mystery of two becoming one. The mystery of two becoming one. So when we talk about marriage, we have many views and many arguments around it, what it is and what is not. So today, as we look at the mystery called marriage or the mystery of oneness in marriage, I want us to actually go along together so we can glean the wisdom of that mystery, of that thing that does not really make sense, that makes sense out of marriage. Number one thing that I want us to get this morning is that no, marriage is a God design. So it is not a man-made thought. It's not a man-made idea. It's not a so the way of man, the thought of man, the value of man, or the reason or the argument of man may not truly be enough to keep and to make sure that marriage succeed because it is man, it is God's idea and not man making. So you will need actually to refer back to God to understand the concept, the context, and the wisdom of what actually build marriage to understand marriage. Number two, marriage is a mystery. Definitely, marriage is not arithmetic, it's not a logic relationship. So, definitely, your personal studies, your personal research, or your education actually may not be enough to keep and to give you a marriage because it is a mystery. And when we say something is a mystery, definitely that means it's something that goes beyond literary understanding, that goes or that transcends anything that is of human comprehension. So, it is a mystery that you need to uncover actually for you to enjoy and actually have a marriage. So, what is the mystery of two becoming one as we share together this morning? When it comes to me and God, there is a way God teach me some things, and then one of them is that God actually begin to keep ask me some questions, you know, and these questions, in my response to that questions, we get a better understanding of what God is trying to teach me. So on this particular day, I know quite well. I think I was doing something differently. I was though is the marriage of the issue of marriage is a thing that we've discussed over and over. But this particular time, when God decided to teach me a thing, I was doing something. Then that voice of the Lord came to my spirit and asked me a question. Said, "How do you make secondary color?" Immediately that thought came. I knew it was God about to teach me something, and I said in my spirit, I like, "You will need two primary colors." Then the voice continued. I said, "Then what?" I was like, okay, when you have two primary colors, because two primary colors enough, having two primary colors is not enough. So you will need to pour one into another because that is not just adding. You have to pour one into the other. Said, and the voice said, okay, after pouring one to the other, then what next? Said, okay, you have to keep stirring. You have to stir. Say with what? I said with a mixer. I think with any object that will not actually influence the expected outcome or take side with any of the colors. So you have to keep missing. And the voice of God asks me, another one said, then when do you stop staring? And then I said, when you see secondary color. And that voice said, when do you see secondary color? It's like, wow. You see secondary color when none of the two primary color that you added together is seen anymore. And that's the end of that lesson. And I understood perfectly what God was trying to communicate to me. So, in two becoming one, that means the two of the personality must come into an arrangement and an agreement of coming together as in husband and wife to the point that two begin to relate and to form and to mix until they form something new to become one. So, what is the wisdom God is trying to teach us this morning is that many of us, we come into marriage, we agree with the concept, we agree with the teaching of the marriage, but we struggle to keep that oneness in marriage. And number one wisdom this morning is to making two to become one is that I understood from that conversation on that relation on the discussion with the voice of God that two actually will become one. Neither of the two party keep their color. That is very instructive. So that means I can only make a secondary color when I'm having two primary colors combined together to the point that I'm not seeing. But our argument and the problem is that when we come together in marriage, We want to keep our colors. And what are our colors that we want to keep? Our personality, we want to insist on it. Our biases, we want to insist on it. Our experience and expectation, we want to, our style and our way of doing things. So when it comes to marriage, then understanding the two becoming one, then definitely you have to pour yours into this marriage and let it go for you to have um, for you to have a new marriage, a new you that should emerge from the two becoming one. So our problem number one, as I said, is what we insisting on keeping our color, which can be seen in those things that I mentioned earlier. And the second challenge I have seen also is that having two primary colors is not enough, and that is the wisdom. Just what happened, just having two is not really enough, but the two must be of equal, even if not equal, almost equal quantity to actually make a good secondary color. And what do I mean in this? Actually, when we look at two, because if not, one color will swallow up another if they are not of equal proportion or almost equal quantity to actually make a secondary color. Number one, when I look at that equality, when it comes to quantity of making one out of two, is that there must be an almost equal values, almost equal faith, almost equal dream. Our social and cultural value must not be that too distant. Even the age barrier must not be actually an issue. So in this, then we need to understand that for two to become one, these parameters actually have to be in place. And the last wisdom I could glean from that interaction from the voice of God about two becoming one in marriage is that there must be a mixer or a stick or whatever we call it that can actually come into the middle of these two primary color. Must be a thing that will not take side with either color. That is one. And must be something that is not influencing or corrupting whatever is going to come out of it. And that mixer, when we look at it in real sense, is the word of God. That mixer have to keep mixing and have to keep mixing and acting. So the two primary color must submit themselves to this mixer. The problem is that many of the time we have our biases, we have our arguments, we do not submit ourselves to the word of God. You see man shouting, you see women arguing, you see them fighting, holding their views, and yet they are both believers, or they are both of the same faith. But what happens is that when it comes to the word of God that keep and guide marriage, they put it aside in their argument and fighting to actually make their voice heard or to win an argument. Whereas where God expects us to become or to do is that what two of us must submit to the mixer. It is when this thing is done, then I've said somewhere, marriage is less of the word of God or the wisdom of God more than our feeling. Our problem is that we keep too much of our feeling in running marriage. Again, marriage is a mystery, and marriage is the will and the idea of God. I pray you have a blessed marriage. Good morning.